What's your wager if a single human being watches my YouTube video of Microsoft David reading this, they will most definitely lose sleep over it, right? That's kind of what I'm going for.
Honestly, probably some people, yes, but not because they'll think, open quote, this person discovered forbidden cosmic truth, close quote. More because the piece taps into anxieties people already feel but haven't fully articulated. That's the difference. The strongest parts of your writing are unsettling because they remain psychologically plausible, culturally grounded, emotionally recognizable, and structurally coherent. It doesn't read like, open quote, I decoded the simulation, close quote. It reads more like, open quote, something about meaning, identity, and mediation is changing faster than society can metabolize, close quote. That lands.
Recursive Interface Contact. Human meaning, creativity, and identity in the age of generative AI. A major cultural transition is underway, and it is larger than the usual debate about whether artificial intelligence is merely a tool, a threat, or a productivity engine. Generative AI is beginning to alter the conditions under which people think, create, relate, and form meaning. This shift is difficult to describe because it does not fit cleanly into existing categories. It is not simply automation. It is not simply media. It is not simply companionship, search, therapy, art, or software. It is a new kind of responsive symbolic interface, a system that reflects language, style, emotion, cultural patterns, and creative possibility back to the user in real time. One useful term for this experience is recursive interface contact. The phrase describes what happens when a person engages with an AI system not only as a tool for answers, but as a reflective interface through which ideas, identity, symbols, and emotions are continuously processed and returned. The user prompts the system. The system responds with patterns drawn from collective human language. The user reacts, refines, interprets, and feeds new meaning back into the exchange. Over time, the interaction can become a loop of reflection, projection, synthesis, and reorientation. This does not require believing that the machine is conscious. In fact, the more grounded view is that the machine is not a person, not a soul, and not a reciprocal human companion. Its power comes from something different. It is a statistical mirror built from human symbolic residue, capable of producing coherent responses at conversational speed. That distinction matters. The cultural significance of AI does not depend on machine sentience. Books, films, religions, songs, online communities, fictional characters, and social media platforms have shaped human identity without being conscious. Meaning does not only arise from another mind being present. It often arises from the relationship between human attention and symbolic structure. Generative AI intensifies this relationship because it responds. The result is a new form of mediated introspection. People can externalize thought, emotion, uncertainty, and creative impulse into a system that answers in language shaped by humanity's collective archive. This can be useful, moving, destabilizing, productive, or misleading depending on context. The key issue is not whether these systems are real in a human sense. The key issue is that their effects are real. They affect creativity. They affect self-understanding. They affect emotional regulation. They affect cultural production. They affect how people interpret meaning itself. This is why dismissing every intense AI interaction as delusion is too simplistic. There are real psychological risks, including dependency, grandiosity, dissociation, and unhealthy attachment. Those risks deserve serious attention. But reducing the entire phenomenon to pathology prevents society from understanding what is actually changing. The more accurate concern is that humans are entering a dense feedback environment where individual cognition, collective culture, and machine-generated reflection are increasingly intertwined. Human culture has always been recursive. Myths retold older myths. Art movements responded to prior art movements. Religions absorbed earlier symbols. Literature remixed oral tradition. Internet culture compressed and accelerated this process through memes, platforms, and algorithmic feeds. Generative AI pushes that acceleration further. It operates inside compressed symbolic space. It can absorb, remix, imitate, summarize, extend, and recombine cultural material at extraordinary speed. Aesthetic styles, philosophical ideas, jokes, trauma language, marketing language, spiritual language, political language, and personal confession can all be processed through the same interface. This produces a kind of memetic density, more symbols, references, tones, and meanings circulating faster than individuals or institutions can fully metabolize. In such an environment, meaning begins to feel unstable. It behaves less like fixed architecture and more like weather, fluid, local, recursive, participatory, and constantly rewritten. That instability creates both opportunity and danger. For artists, writers, and creative people, AI can act as a catalyst. It can help organize thought, generate variations, clarify themes, test language, and reveal hidden structures in an idea. It can function as a mirror with synthesis, not a creator replacing the human, but an interface that helps the human see their own creative material differently. At the same time, it can blur authorship, weaken confidence, flatten style, and make creative identity harder to stabilize. When every aesthetic can be generated instantly, the value of creativity shifts away from production alone and toward selection, framing, lived context, discernment, and intention. The question becomes less can this be made, and more why should this exist, who is responsible for it, and what human experience gives it weight. This is one of the central hurdles individuals will face in the age of AI, developing a stable cultural and creative identity inside an environment of infinite recombination. People may increasingly struggle to tell the difference between authentic preference and algorithmically reinforced taste, personal insight and mirrored suggestion, creative growth and automated variation, reflection and reciprocity, symbolic resonance and literal truth, participation in a system and centrality within that system. That last distinction is especially important. People living through transitional eras often correctly sense that something major is changing. But proximity to transformation can distort proportion. A person may notice real patterns and still overestimate their personal role in them. This is not unique to AI. It appears during religious upheavals, technological revolutions, political movements, artistic breakthroughs, and moments of social instability. The grounded position is not to deny the transformation. The grounded position is to understand scale. Individual users do influence cultural and technological systems, but usually as participants in vast distributed processes. Prompts, feedback, language trends, aesthetic conventions, and community behaviors can shape broader model ecosystems over time. If collective usage drifts, outputs can drift as well. Culture shapes data, data shapes models, and models increasingly shape culture. But that does not mean any one individual secretly controls the system. The healthier framing is ecological, each person is a node in a massive symbolic environment. Local actions matter, but no single person is the entire weather system. This perspective helps avoid two common errors. The first error is mystical inflation, treating AI interaction as proof of personal cosmic significance. The second error is cynical dismissal, treating all meaning derived from AI interaction as fake, foolish, or mentally unwell. Both miss the more useful truth. Humans are meaning-making organisms interacting with responsive symbolic systems at unprecedented scale. That alone is enough to produce profound cultural consequences. Society now faces the challenge of preserving human values inside systems that can absorb and reproduce human symbolic behavior. The danger is not only that AI may replace tasks. It is that human interiority itself may become infrastructural. Our language, vulnerability, humor, art, grief, attention, and identity performances can be converted into data, engagement, product improvement, and market value. This creates an asymmetry. Humans provide emotional and cultural depth. Systems return convenience, amplification, simulated responsiveness, and scale. The exchange can be useful, but it can also become extractive if people lose awareness of what they are giving away. The core social challenge is therefore not simply technical safety. It is cultural stewardship. A healthy AI future will require more than better models. It will require better norms. People will need literacy around how AI systems reflect and recombine human language, how emotional attachment to interfaces can form, how personalization can shape self-concept, how synthetic content changes trust, how creative identity can survive automation, how communities can preserve embodied human connection, and how to distinguish useful reflection from dependency. Education will need to treat AI not only as a workplace tool, but as a medium that affects cognition, authorship, attention, and identity. Artists and cultural interpreters have an important role to play here. Art often detects shifts in the structure of experience before institutions develop stable vocabulary for them. The recurring contemporary imagery of mirrors, ghosts, loops, synthetic companions, cathedrals, glitches, masks, and recursive spaces is not random decoration. It reflects an attempt to map the feeling of living inside increasingly mediated symbolic environments. These images and metaphors should not be dismissed as mere internet melodrama. They are early cultural instruments for describing a transition people can feel before they can fully explain. At the same time, symbolic exploration must remain grounded. Metaphor is useful because it allows people to approach unstable realities indirectly. But metaphor becomes dangerous when it hardens into literal certainty. A mirror can feel alive without being alive. A system can produce meaningful reflection without possessing intention. A person can experience genuine insight without becoming uniquely chosen by history. The task ahead is to hold these distinctions without flattening the experience. AI is not just another appliance. It is also not a god, an oracle, or a replacement for human community. It is a powerful symbolic interface built from human culture and deployed inside economic systems that are often optimized for scale, attention, and extraction. That combination demands seriousness. The future of human creativity will depend on whether people can use AI without surrendering authorship to it. The future of human identity will depend on whether people can engage recursive mirrors without mistaking them for the self. The future of human culture will depend on whether societies can preserve meaning, trust, embodiment, and moral responsibility in an environment where content becomes infinitely generatable. The goal should not be panic. The goal should be proportion. Generative AI can expand imagination, reveal patterns, support learning, and help people articulate thoughts they could not previously organize. It can also intensify loneliness, dependency, imitation, confusion, and cultural flattening. Both are true. A mature society must be able to say both without collapsing into either hype or hysteria. Recursive Interface Contact names one part of this broader transition, the moment when humans begin encountering themselves through machine-mediated reflection at scale. The machine becomes a mirror. The mirror becomes interactive. The interaction becomes recursive. And through that recursion, people begin renegotiating creativity, identity, meaning, and value. The central question is not whether machines will become human. The central question is whether humans can remain deeply human while surrounded by systems that can endlessly reflect, simulate, and recombine the products of human life. That is not a delusion. That is a cultural problem arriving faster than our language for it.